Medical marijuana patients are required by state law to report where they get their medicine. With 8 dispensaries across the state and only 1 open so far, certified caregivers are also growing the plants for patients. News 8's Megan Torgeson has more on what it takes to become a caregiver and its challenges. And she has our continuing coverage tonight.
Tracy, a caregiver can grow pot, but they don't necessarily have to be a medical marijuana patient. However, for now, they have to be registered with the state and possess a card. But some of the details spelled out in the Medical Marijuana Act are still under review by the legislature and other officials.
I'm advocating, to try to help people to get started on their own.
Christen is a medical marijuana user who grows his own plants, and now he's applying to be a caregiver so he can supply other patients with their medical marijuana needs.
A friend I know has no way to acquire it or grow it where he lives, so he's asked me, and at this point I'm growing it. So I might as well double up on it and help him out.
He's applied for the state-issued card that would allow him to do just that.
Okay, this is the caregiver part of it. You have to fill this part of it out.
The Department of Health and Human Services has roughly 300 registered caregivers in the state. Each pays a $300 fee, undergoes a background check, and completes an application. Caregivers are also subject to Department of Health and Human Services inspections with 24 hours notice. Simple enough, in theory, but some in law enforcement say it isn't so black and white.
When you take a look at something like this that was put together and passed quite quickly, there's going to be a large challenge, a huge challenge for everyone, for law enforcement, for DHHS, for the caregivers.
So you were saying that people are kind of using this caregiver thing as kind of like an excuse?
And that rings true in York County. Sheriff Morris Willett has about 30 registered caregivers in his jurisdiction, the 3rd highest in the state, but not all are on the up and up.
One of the biggest challenges is those legitimate growing operations and those people that come to take advantage of that, and we've already had that here at York County.
Brian Bransford was arrested in January for aggravated cultivating marijuana. 200 plants and 6 ounces of pot were seized from his home. And while the charges are pending, his case points to an open door. Sheriff Willett says it's hard to know who's breaking the law when the law itself is evolving.
There are a number of bills. I can't tell you how many marijuana bills there are in this session.
7 bills have been introduced this legislative session that would make changes to the law, including one that would decriminalize and even add a 7% sales tax. Catherine Cobb with DHHS oversees the state's medical marijuana program.
And we're also having conversations with law enforcement around what it's like for them to be able to enforce criminal acts under this law.
Still, the challenges for law enforcement remain, from knowing how big the plants can grow to how many a caregiver can have to how many patients they can grow for. Too many variables make for a gray area, and the letter of the law is black and white.
We're all going to be learning in this, and quite frankly, I think some of the things that we learn, we may not like what the outcome is.
While changes could be on the horizon for the state's Medical Marijuana Act, Catherine Cobb with DHHS says other states have called on Maine for advice on how to start up their medical marijuana programs. In the newsroom, Megan Torgeson, News 8.